Hello photography fans, and welcome to another episode about classic cameras and classic photo gear. Today we're going to be looking at my Soviet Horizont camera. So without further ado, let's dig in and take a closer look at this Soviet beauty. Horizont, or more precisely Horizont, is a Soviet camera made by Krasnogorsky Mechanicheский Zavod, or KMZ. The camera was produced between 1967 and 1973. Its predecessor was FT2 camera. Completely different design, and it looks completely different. And this camera was based on Panon wide locks. There were versions made for domestic market with Cyrillic name, as you can see in this particular case, and there were versions made for export with Roman type. This is a panoramic swing lens camera with fixed lens. And as you can see, it's a pretty handsome design. Now, let's go over some of the features of this beautiful Soviet camera. So starting from the top, on the right hand side, you have your advance knob, which advances the film and cocks the shutter. Here you go, I'm doing that right now, and there's a shutter release. For the heck of it, I will advance the film one more time and release the shutter again. Now in this center piece, you have your shutter selector, your aperture selector, and your film speed reminder. And on the left you have your level, which can be viewed through the viewfinder. Now, to select the shutter speed, you first must cock the shutter, and then using the outer ring of the center knob, you just select your shutter speed. Shutter ranges between 1/30th and 1/25th and an unmarked 250. The second inner ring is to select your aperture. This lens goes from f2.8 to f16, and the very center is just a reminder of your film speed. It does not affect exposure. It's just for you to remember what you put in. To load the film into this beauty, first you must open the rear hatch, and this is done by simply unlatching the latch mechanism and swinging the back door open like so. And the film is loaded based on that schematic on the door. Make sure you're loaded exactly the way it is shown. No other way will work. So pay attention. An interesting feature of these cameras is that they can have a filter over the lens, and the filter is simply mounted inside that lens mechanism, the swivel thing, the turret thing. Now here I'm just popping it out. It's simple as just pulling on these little tabs, and you can see this is yellow-green filter, and it's just as easy to put it back in. Now these are pretty rare, so I'm kind of lucky that mine came with that camera, because most of these did not have, or people would just misplace these filters. So here I'm just popping it back in. So there are little latches on the spring metal, and you just pop it in, and that's it, and you're done. You have a filter over the lens. Pretty cool. Here I want to demonstrate how sexy the shutter sound is, so listen carefully, and I'm just gonna shut up for a second. Nice. On the bottom plate of the camera, you just have your tripod mount, which is 3/8 adapter, which you can unscrew simply by unscrewing it, and there you have a 1/4 inch tripod mount, which is good. And then you have your knob or button that releases the shutter mechanism or the sprocket mechanism so that you can remove your film. In order to wind the film back into the cassette, you gotta remove the viewfinder, which is simple to do, and then this way you have access to the rewind knob or mechanism. Now, in order to remove the film, as I mentioned, you have to remove the viewfinder, which just pops off. Turn the little rewind knob and it will pop up. Now you have to flip the camera over and press the sprocket release button, which is simple like that. And now you can wind the film back into the cassette. The sprocket is not released, so you just wind it. And when you're done, you simply put it back in and you open the rear hatch to retrieve the film. Simple as that. Now the frame count does not reset automatically when you open the hatch, so you have to reset it manually. So for that, the vents knob pops up, and on the bottom you have a knurled ring which you turn to align the counter back to 0 or to 1, and you can do it at any time. It's not a problem. And this is the view from the inside of the viewfinder. You can see towards the bottom, you see the knob from the level, and that actually centers pretty well when the camera is leveled. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this overview of my Horizont camera. Stay tuned for more videos, more are coming. Don't forget to subscribe and keep shooting film. Camera with me, and the idea was to shoot some panoramic pictures, but due to some unforeseen technical difficulties, the camera didn't work. Sprocket was just ripping the film apart, and I had to stop after a few unsuccessful attempts to re-spool the film. So I'll look at the roller and see what's causing the issue, and maybe down the road I'll shoot a roll of film on this camera. For now, I'll leave it as is, and yeah, I'll leave it as is, and so no pictures at the end of the video.